Hurricane Milton projected to be among the top 5 costliest natural catastrophes in the U.S. It's according to Morningstar DBRS. Insured losses forecast to approach $60 billion as severe weather remains an overhang risk for insurers. Heritage Property and Casualty Insurance CEO Ernie Garateix joins us now with more. Ernie, it is good to see you. With Hurricane Milton, Ernie, I've seen different estimates for potential insured losses here, but I am curious to see, what are you all seeing on the ground in Florida and how is it impacting your company?
So thank you for having me, Josh. And first and foremost, our thoughts go out with the folks from the Tampa Bay area. Myself, I live in Tampa Bay, so we've experienced this firsthand. So what I will say, Josh, it's a little bit early in the process. We have reported claims. We have people on the ground. I think you can see from the storm, it just went south of the Tampa Bay area, not a direct hit on Tampa. And we are seeing claims coming in. But I will say it was not a direct hit, and we're still analyzing. Now, the models are all over the place. You've seen numbers as low as 25 to 30 billion and as high as over 100 billion. Our focus right now is addressing our policyholders and getting them back.
What, Ernie, do these hurricanes, in your opinion, as you look ahead, what in the future do they mean for the cost of property insurance in Florida, just going forward?
Yeah, what I would say, though, if you look back at 22 and 23 with the insurance reform that happened in the state, it did stabilize the market and it did better capitalize a lot of insurers and reinsurers for this market. So we're committed to the market. I think the market will continue to be strong. As you take a look at the market itself, new capital has come in. Reinsurers have provided more capital to the state of the market. And I think this is a storm that's manageable for insurers in the market.
And Ernie, when you mentioned that reform in Florida, what specifically can you tell us about that? What changes were made?
Sure. So there are a number of changes that were made, and one is the reporting period. Florida was the only state that it would give you 3 years to report a hurricane claim. That's down to 1 year, and that's to make things more manageable and not have these claims coming in. The other was the one-way fee statute. The amount of litigation abuse that happened in the state of Florida is something that's very costly, and policyholders paid for that, throughout the period of time.
If I own a home in Florida, Ernie, I have property insurance, what would that typically, I'm just curious, what would that typically cover? Would that specifically address, water, flood, hurricane-related damage?
So it typically covers the wind, right, on that piece of it. We do not cover the flood. Flood is through the national program, NFIP, on that aspect of it. And one side is if you're closer to the water, you've got to expect a higher price. It is the price for living in Florida, living close to the water, which is beautiful. As you go inland, those prices become more affordable.
And what are the different variables that also it can impact the cost, Ernie? Is it trees over your house? Is it the age of the roof? What else goes into that?
Yeah, I think one of the things that Florida has done a really good job that we're seeing with some of these storms is the construction code. So it goes all the way back to Hurricane Andrew, and Miami-Dade County passed some pretty strict construction codes, for buildings. That has migrated throughout the state. And just to give you a couple of ideas, we've seen winds of over 100 miles per hour, or yes, you're seeing missing shingles, but you're not seeing the extent of damage to the roof. So the building construction has gotten better. We always tell policyholders to trim those trees back, right, and make sure that you're up to code.
Ernie, finally, I got to ask, because it did get a lot of attention. 60 Minutes aired this piece. It was late last month, and whistleblowers talking about Hurricane Ian, Ernie, and several insurance carriers used altered reports to deceive customers, lower payouts. Heritage was one of those highlighted in that story. Ernie, what can you tell us about that?
So what I can tell you, the altered report is absolutely false. I can't speak to the specifics of it because we are in litigation, but I can tell you we're committed to our policyholders, and we've paid out billions of dollars, to all our policyholders when it comes to these events, and we'll continue to do that.
Ernie, thank you so much for joining the show. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Josh.